Hello everybody and welcome to another PFL Tuts lesson. Today we're going to be making a really awesome logo and I'm super excited about it. Now one thing to keep in mind is that this logo will distort if you size it differently because we're not using Illustrator for vectors, so just keep that in mind. But we're going to go ahead and just create a new document here at 1280 by 720 with 300 DPI. The reason we want 300 DPI is because it'll allow us to get much smoother edges overall. We're then going to make our background color transparent and click OK after that. But we'll go ahead and name this Awesome Logo, just because we're cool. Now as you can see on our canvas we have our logo. Next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and snap some rulers onto the screen here so that I can actually basically have a nice centered logo when I'm completed. So that looks pretty close to the center right there, but that's just the basic idea. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our ellipse tool, and I'm going to go ahead and change the fill to black because we're just going to start and do everything in complete black, and that's it. We're not going to have a stroke at all. We're going to make sure that we're on a solid and that align edges is on, and we are good to go. Next we're going to go ahead and go right here to the center of our image, and we're going to hold down Alt and Shift, or Shift, and then once you have started dragging out, you can then click Alt with your other finger, and you will then be able to scale from the middle out, as you see I'm doing here. Now I'm going to go ahead and scale this up to about there. This little box is going to pop out. Right now we don't need that, we may later on, but for right now we're just going to use the logo like this. So from this point, we need to go ahead and duplicate this layer one time. We're then going to hit Control T, hold down Alt and Shift together, and scale this down so that there is a little bit of a border on this, something kind of like that. Then hit Enter. We'll then go ahead and size another one, so we'll duplicate that and then scale it down. This time we're going to go a little bit further on into the middle here, about like that. And then we're going to need one more, which we're going to do right now. Same exact procedure, just going inside the middle area. Now to make sure that this looks the way we want, we're going to go ahead and disable these two layers so we can just see our outer layer with our inner one. We want to get this to the point where it looks like it'll have a nice border, but not too small or too big. So right about there is where I'm going to want it. We'll then go ahead and enable all of these layers. And now we're going to actually create a custom shape for the rest of this logo. So the next part that we're going to do is, first of all, go ahead and grab all of these and hit Control G. That will group them together. And then you can go ahead and name this Logo BG for now. I'm then going to go over here to my settings. I know it's not on the screen, but you're just going to click on Panel Options. And we want to go ahead and make this be bigger, and then we want to go ahead and take off expand new effects. No, we don't want that. We just want to take no, that's good. That's the settings I want. Okay, cool. So now that we have our basic logo, and we're going to be using the outside diameter to kind of gauge this, we could either use another shape, but I want to do it with the pen tool. And we're going to go ahead and make sure we're on paths mode here, and let's go ahead and get started. So I know I'm going to want to start around here. I'm then going to go up here with this point. I know that I want it to kind of curve like this and then back up. So what I'm going to do is go right here to my blue line from the ruler, and I just kind of want to scale it up kind of like that. And then I'm going to come over to this side here on the outside and click once, and you'll see it kind of continues the curve for me. I'm then going to hit the Alt key and click on this point, and then come down over here so it's kind of on a little bit of an angle, just like that. And then back to this point here, relatively the same distance from here to here, within, you know, pretty good reason. It doesn't have to be perfect, but within reason. And we're going to go ahead and simply scale that down so that it has the curve as well. We'll then click on this point, and you can see there it kind of finishes the curve for us, making a very nice looking banner design. So now that we have this, we're on path mode currently. And we actually should have made that into a shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over here to Define Custom Shape, and I'm just going to name it Logo Banner. And we'll then just go ahead and right click again and go to Delete Path. Now normally if you did path, that would become the layer, but I'm trying to show you guys some other things that you haven't seen before in our tutorial so you guys kind of know what's coming. So we're going to go to the custom shape tool, and then we're going to go ahead and select that banner shape. I'm going to go up to this blue dot over here, hold down shift and drag out, and then I'll just hit V and I can move this down, and you can see here it auto kind of center it for me. And now what I'm going to do is go over here to my direct selection tool, and I want to adjust this a little bit. I know that this point needs to go up here quite a bit. This here needs to have the curve adjusted to where it'll be a little bit more like that. Both of these points need to go up a little bit so that curve is a little bit more. And then this curve here needs to be brought, let's see, let's click on this point here, and that one needs to come down a little bit. I just want it to be just about right, so that's why I'm adjusting it so much. So right there is exactly the shape that I want. So I'll hit my enter key to exit out of that, go back to my move tool, and now I have that basic shape there. Now from here we need to do a couple of different things. The first thing we need to do is let's go ahead and disable that layer for now. Let's open back up our logo BG area, and I'm going to go ahead and disable the very back layer, the second layer down, so that now I have this nice circle here, and then of course the one that's on the inside. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and take this layer and just drop that opacity down a little bit so I can kind of see it, but not all the way through. And you'll understand why here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and use my text tool. I'm going to make sure that it's on center, and I'm just going to click on my composition, and I'm going to type in awesome at the very top. I'm then going to make that be white, and I'm going to need to scale this down quite a bit, so I'm just going to click on 72 to start. And now I want to go to my curves adjustment, and I want to go ahead and put an arc on this. Now the arc is going to need to be adjusted probably a little bit more than this, but for right now I want to go to 75%. I'm then going to move this kind of into place, and you can see here my guide kind of lines it up for me so I know exactly where I'm at. And I want to make sure it's right there in the center just so that the logo is good to go. And I'm going to kind of put this down a little bit to about there. And now we need to go through here and adjust to the type of font that we actually want to use. So I think this right here actually looks pretty darn cool. I'm going to go ahead and change this over to sharp. And I'm going to see what bold looks like. No, I don't like it on bold, so I'm going to keep it at regular. Now if I go back to my arc options here, actually I don't know. I think it looks good like that. That looks pretty cool in my opinion, so I'm going to keep it like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and re-enable all of these layers here. Take this layer, bring the opacity all the way back up. I'll then minimize this layer here. I'm then going to put the banner back on. And now I need to go ahead and put text inside of this object. So as you see here, I can type, and I'm just going to put something like a slogan, basically is what would go here. And I'm just going to put, it's how we do. And I actually did that wrong, so instead of clicking in the layer, let's just click out of that, and it needs to say it's how we do. And I want to change this over to Arial just because I want it to be very, very basic. And that layer needs to be dragged to the very top of our layer panel. Alright, so now that we have this text here, we need to get it to kind of go in the curve. So once again, we can use the automatic adjustments that Photoshop comes with in the warping of text. And I know that this is actually in a flag shape, but it needs to be the opposite way of that it's going. So instead of plus 50, let's start at minus 50. And you can see here that that's looking a whole lot better already, but we're definitely going to have to adjust that. So let's disable this layer here so we just have our text. And let's go ahead and move this up a little bit so that it's kind of centered. That looks pretty good there. Let's go back to that tool once again. And let's go ahead and undo that wave a little bit. I'm thinking about negative 22 is probably right around what we're going to need. And then I'm just going to move it up as you see here. Now, you need to go ahead and hit Control T, and you need to rotate this ever so slightly so it will actually line up with the banner a little bit better. And then we'll move that down just a little bit more. Once you've done that, let's go ahead and adjust the warp a little bit more to try to get it a little bit more flowing with the banner. And as you can see here on the outside line, that's actually flowing fairly decent considering we're using a pre-made warp on this text. And I think that looks really, really sick there. So I'm going to keep that like it is. Let's go ahead and enable everything once again, and then we'll disable these two layers. We're going to go ahead and group those and just put this to slogan banner, because that's actually what it's called. And now under our logo BG, we need to go ahead and start coloring this object. So let's go ahead and select our very first layer here and go to color overlay. I already know that I want to kind of use, I'm going to go ahead and move these windows here into the scene so you can kind of see them on both sides here. I already know that I kind of want a blue color, and I know that I want it to be sort of a lighter blue like this on the center. So I'm going to go ahead and use this blue here on the outside, and I'll go ahead and hit OK on that. I'm then just going to right click and go to copy layer style, and then paste layer style on all of these layers here, as you can see. I'll then go ahead and double click the second one, go to the color overlay, and I know that this needs to be a little bit of a lighter color, so I'm going to go over here and select that lighter color there. I know that the darker one on the inside is what I want, so I'll skip the second layer and go to this one. And this one I'm actually going to go ahead and make be the lighter blue color. However, we're going to be doing something a little bit different with this layer. So let's go ahead and make sure that all of these have the arrows closed on them, just because I don't want to be using up too much space. Now comes the fun part. We're going to go ahead and go out of our logo BG for a second here, and we're going to go ahead and create a new layer. Now you'll understand why here in a second, but basically all we're going to do, go to the center of our object, hold down shift, and then hit alt to zoom out. We want to make sure that this pattern is bigger than that center light blue circle. So as you can see there, that looks pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and just fill this with black, and from that point I'm then going to take my marquee tool and just make out a selection kind of like this. I want to make a new layer, and I want to fill that with plain reset my colors there, plain white. So as you can see here, I'm rotating this while using the shift key to a 45-degree angle, and then I'm moving this so that it is lined up like so. Then I'm going to duplicate this layer and just drag it down about halfway through, and I'm just simply going to drag these all down like this. I'm then going to select all those layers, hit Control T, and actually let's go to transform and let's go down to distort, and I want to go ahead and simply drag these down like here a little bit. And there's a better way to do this. Let's go to transform. Let's go to perspective instead. That might be a little bit better. And I want to drag these all down to one point here, as you can see I'm doing. Drag them all over to one side. Drag these up again. Drag them out this down this way a little bit, and then this way. I want to kind of come up. And basically I just want to kind of create a little bit of a starburst effect on these objects. So, whoa. Something like that. Control T, rotate them again, move them back into place. I just want it to kind of look like it's all coming down into this one area. And I think that actually looks pretty good there. So, only thing I'm going to do is adjust these a little bit more. Drag this one back some, and then drag those forward. And I think that's looking pretty darn good right there. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead, select this layer, Control I to inverse, delete everything else around it, hit Control E and then delete. I'm then going to merge these two layers together, Control click it, yeah, Control click it. I want to go to edit and down to, actually, you know what? Let's do it a different way. Let's do the fun way. Control C on it. Let's just hide it for now. Go down to logo BG. On this top layer here, we want to go ahead and click on the adjustment layer and go to, basically we want to go to pattern, and we need to use the pattern we're making though, so there's probably a better way to do this. Let's go ahead and go to here, and we'll just paste that back in. Control click that circle, Control I to inverse, delete everything else around it. I'm just going to keep that for now. but I think that's looking pretty good there. All we have to do at this point is simply go over here and go to lighten, which will then put the streaks on there, and then we can just adjust the opacity down to kind of give us a little bit less effect, so it's a little bit more natural looking like that. Now if we go back to our slogan banner, we'll go ahead and enable both of these layers here, and it's time to move on to the next step. I'm going to go ahead and control click this layer, and I want to go ahead and click on my marquee tool, and I want to go ahead and go down a little bit on this selection here, as you see, and create a new layer. Go to my paintbrush tool, select the darker blue color, put that there, control click this layer again, kind of go up to where I'm on both sides of it, kind of like that. I just want it to be kind of even. And then I'm going to, or you know what, let's do this. Let's, instead of doing that, we have this second layer here. Let's just control click this, control I to inverse, delete that part, double click this layer, go to color overlay, and then we're going to go ahead and select this little bit lighter blue color that we have here. And I think that's actually looking really cool. And then we can just go to stroke, and the stroke color needs to be the darker blue color that we have here. And we'll just up that a little bit, maybe like 5 or 6. Yeah, 6 looks pretty good. And I think that looks really, really cool there. Alright, so we're definitely on the right track here. We can go ahead and rotate this slogan banner so it's a little more natural to flowing. And we can also move it down some just so it's a little bit better looking. And now let's go ahead and go to our custom shape tool. And let's see if we can find a shape that we like. Something that can be what this logo is all about. So let's go ahead and just reset the shapes here. Yes. No. Alright. So let's just use this mail icon here because I think it looks pretty cool. Now I know we're in slogan banner, but we're going to go back to logo BG. We're going to go ahead and click on this top layer. And from there we'll go ahead and drag out the mailbox icon, as you can see here. Now we're going to go ahead and rotate that a little bit just so it kind of is going against the grain. We'll then go ahead and go to gradient overlay, and let's select something in the red zone, something like that, and then go over here to this color, and let's make it be more on the white side like that. Hit OK, scale it up. That's looking pretty good there. Then we'll take that opacity, adjust that down a little bit, and we'll leave that alone. Stroke it just a little bit. And that's looking pretty good there. Only problem is it's kind of hidden a little bit, so maybe, just maybe, we'll go ahead and make something a little bit more custom than this. Let's go ahead and delete that layer, and we'll go ahead and hide the slogan banner again, and we'll go ahead and create brand new folder here, and we'll start a new layer. Let's go ahead and go to our pen tool and select the shape, and let's just make a paintbrush. So we're going to kind of come over here, we're going to swoop it down like so, and then bring it over here a little bit more, kind of like so, just kind of mess with it a little bit. Alright, that looks pretty good there. We'll go ahead and change that color to something like a darker, maybe a darker green, maybe a little darker than that, yeah, like a darker green like that. And now let's go ahead and create another new layer, and we'll start with the pen tool once again. We're going to go ahead and make this be black though. And now let's go ahead and drag from here up to about here, right next to it, and then back down here again. And actually just go a little bit further down into it like that. Let's go ahead and grab our direct selection tools, and now we can kind of move this around a little bit, make it seem a little bit more like a paintbrush. We'll go ahead and zoom in here to these, and I want to take one of these points and just simply drag it a little bit closer. Go back down over to here, drag this one up so it's more even, drag this one down a little bit more, and that's looking a lot better. And now when we put the shading on it, it will look perfecto. Alright, so now we've done that, we're going to go ahead and double click this layer and go to Gradient Overlay. We're going to go ahead and select the angle, which is kind of like this-ish. And we'll go ahead and go to Reflected. Scale that up. Let's go back to, let's go to linear again. And sometimes it's a little difficult to get this to work this way, so instead let's just go ahead and go to here to the layer, go to our gradient tool, D and X back to, or actually, you know what? So we're on white, new layer, and let's just take that gradient with to the transparent part, kind of put it like that, and then we'll just down this opacity a little tiny bit like so. Merge those two layers together. I'm going to drop that behind so it looks like it's kind of like behind it there. And now we need to go ahead and take this shape, duplicate it. We need to make it smaller and then kind of make it be a little bit more natural. So I'm just distorting it here. Something like that. Go to the color overlay. Click on the color and we'll just do a little bit of a lighter color like that. We'll hit OK on that. Then we're going to duplicate this layer once again. This time we're going to go ahead and go to our direct selection tools. We're going to delete this point here, go back to our pen tool, and then complete that shape by doing this number here. And then I'll go back to my direct selections. I want to take both these points and just simply, we'll just move them one at a time. It'll be easier that way. And I just want to move it to where it's up here. Move that one so it's there. Kind of like this, but I need to make sure that the shape is still within and just maybe past a little bit on the other side, so adjust this a little bit, drag that back out, there we go. And then I want to take this and I just want to make that be white like that. Probably have to scale it up slightly. Like that. We'll go ahead and now zoom out of the whole thing. And that looks pretty good actually. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, rotate it a little bit more so it's kind of coming out of the logo. Name this paintbrush. Make that smaller. Put our banner back on. And drag this below the slogan banner. That way I can move it up some, kind of like that. Control T to rotate it a little bit more up like that. And I think that that is looking really, really cool. Only thing I don't like is that the text is just plain Arial, so let's go ahead, put something more like that style in there. And then let's adjust this top style here a little bit more. Make it something a little bit more awesome, as they say. And I'm just scrolling through them here just to see what I have. And that one there makes this logo absolutely complete. The only thing missing, guys, is a really sick background. So let's go ahead and create a brand new layer, drag it to the bottom. We're going to name it BG. Let's go ahead and select the paint bucket tool, make it black. We're then going to go ahead and go in here to the blue color, select a very, very dark blue, go to our gradient tool, click on reflected up here, or actually this is radial. Go to the center of our image, hold down shift, click and drag out. And you can see there that it's starting to kind of come through. Let's do it again, make it a little bit brighter. And that's looking pretty good there. Now I'm going to double click this layer and go to pattern overlay. Select this pattern here and go down to overlay, and you can see that grain kind of coming through there on the back. I'll go ahead and scale that a little bit, and that's looking really, really good there. Last thing I think I want to do that I think will really just make this pop off the screen is go here to my very bottom layer and make this blue color even darker than it is. So maybe something more along the lines of like that. Yeah, that looks pretty good there. I think that looks really good. Hit OK. And to really make it really just stand out the best we can, go to color overlay over here, go back to the blue areas, select a light blue, and select color, and kind of adjust through those a little bit just to kind of get what we want. And difference looks pretty good there. I'm pretty happy with that. And I think that is looking really sick, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and end this tutorial. I apologize for how long it was, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this really cool Photoshop tutorial. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button for me, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe. Once again, thank you for checking out this PFL Tuts lesson, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later!